Florida State versus Charleston Southern prediction.
You are Locked On Seminoles, your daily podcast on the Florida State Seminoles. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back into Locked On Seminoles. I am your host, Brian Smith, longtime college football writer and recruiting analyst. Thank you for making Locked On Seminoles your first listen each and every day. I truly appreciate you stopping in to talk some Noles with me. Today's show is brought to you by FanDuel. You can start the season with a big return on FanDuel. New customers can place a $5 bet and get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. Just visit FanDuel.com to get started. I'm going to have the shortest prediction show of the year because it's Charleston Southern, and it is rather direct. At the end, definitely going to talk about the final score and why I come up with it. And in the middle, going to talk about some keys with effort. But to get there, here's the first thing. I talk about this every week, and it will never change. It's not even really a part of my list. It's just the automatic that everybody should know. Can Florida State run the ball on first down? Please, just consistently run the ball on first down. This is a bad, not a mediocre, not a good, a bad FCS team. They have one win. They are awful. Florida State needs to be able to say, it's 3rd and 2. Here comes Tofili or Cam Davis, whatever player. I don't care. And be able to run the ball. So here are my 7 keys beyond the running game that I think Florida State needs to show. No particular order, but many of them are connected together. Number 1, I've talked about this a little bit recently, and I've seen some signs, but want to see more. Brock Glenn, Luke Kromenhoek, do they have more of a command of the Florida State offense? Post-snap reads, pocket presence. That's probably the biggest one for me. And finally, just making a play in a circumstance where it could go sideways. Decision-making, throwing a precise pass, whatever it is that's needed in the moment where you almost don't even have a chance to think. How do Brock and Luke play those situations out? Very important. To that end, I also think that it still has to be stated, because young players don't do this very often. It's okay to throw it away. It's okay to scramble for 3 yards and punt. Do not end drives on turnovers. End of story. Pro Football Focus has a stat that I think is incredibly intelligent to have. Turnover-worthy passes. How many times, whether they pick it off or not, did you throw it into harm's way? A great way to judge whether a young quarterback is capable and ready to take, quote unquote, the next step in his progression. How many times does he throw it in there? Even if you hit all 4 of them, are you like, okay, this is an FCS team. How would that go next week against the Gators? How would that go against Miami? How would that go against a top 25 opponent? The answer is not well. I don't care how many they hit this week. It's the attempts. How many times do they throw it away or run instead of trying to force the football? Watch that in this game. Number 2, does Florida State run over Charleston Southern in a sense where it's not just getting the short yardage runs that I talked about to begin the show, but is it a bludgeoning? And for there to be this something you're going to hear constantly throughout this show, is Florida State showing consistent effort. I'm not sure who's going to start because they've had so many injuries up front, and that's unfortunate. But effort is something that anybody can apply each and every play. This is Florida State. This is not the Sisters of the Poor here. You're on scholarship at a major university. Show effort, show heart, show desire. Even if your technique is not great, sometimes it is what it is. Go out of your way. If you pancake a guy, don't stop. Go to the next player. Smack him around too. That's how you have to play if you want to continue to be at Florida State and be a successful football player. Number 3, this is something that is interesting, and you got to kind of look at the culmination of it and go back through a game, but to your best of your ability, and I know I'm going to try to do this, when Florida State has the possession, are they going to be in a scenario where they're running really generic plays the entire game? I don't care what the score is. Are they really trying to give Luke and Brock an opportunity to evolve? And to the point about the last thing that I mentioned with the O-line, are they running some things where it's a little harder, pulling out on a waggle, a bootleg, something like that, and they're going out of their way to put the other team in a difficult spot because there's play action, there's fakes, there's motions. It's complex. By this point in the season, especially against Charleston Southern, I mean, you should be able to run whatever you want. If I get trying not to show anything to Florida, but you've played 10 games. They know what you're going to do. There's nothing to hide. You have one win anyway. Florida State's play calling needs to definitively show that they can get outside the pocket, stop, set their feet, make a read. If it's not there, throw it away. All of it. Complex and complete the play anyway. I do not care. I don't want to hear about it. I want to see all of it. And I'm not just talking about Luca Brock, the tight end block, how the offensive guard carries out his assignment. Does the tackle block down and do it correctly? Does he need to go to the second level to angle off if they throw a backside screen to Toafili, who we all know can take one to the house at any time, but you got to get him past that first wave. Once he's in space, somebody like Toafili or Sam or Cam, I don't care which one of them it is, can score. Florida State's blocking on screens this year has been awful, whether receiver screen or running back screen. That needs to change. I want to see the effort and I want to see the execution. 4, young players in general. I'm talking about all the execution stuff with these guys, so let's get into that. Cam Davis, probably going to play. I've heard different things. I don't know. I need to see it to believe it. Sam Singleton, really curious about him. I think he's a lot better than what people give him credit. Remember, he had a 95-yard touchdown return on a kickoff early this year. The kid can fly. Love his upside. They also have to hit receiver screens. How about B.J. Gibson? How about Wayne McCoy? How about Hakeem Williams? Again, it's just execution. They could throw out a couple of new screens to make Florida think, okay, that's coming next week. That'd be okay too. I'm down with that. But I just want to see the execution, and I want to see these guys get a lot of reps. Next week, I'll go over snap counts again, like I did this week. I think that's a good exercise at the end of the year. Which freshmen and sophomores are playing? Which ones are producing? Which ones played the most? Which one played more or less than last week? All those things kind of go together. I'm curious about it. So on defense, it's the same thing. Edwin Joseph, KJ Kirkland, whatever. How many guys played? Which guys were banged up last week, couldn't come back? We can talk about that too, but I think we're going to see a plethora of young guys. KJ Sampson might be the guy I'm most curious about, the big D tackle, redshirt freshman. That's a really good football player, but he needs more reps. I know they got seniors, but again, if you're not up big in the second half against Charleston Southern, and I'm not trying to pick on them, oh boy, KJ should be able to play the vast majority of the second half as the quote-unquote starter for the second half. If not, something has gone terribly wrong. Number 5, defensive effort. I talked about this a little bit throughout the last couple of weeks, but it started to wane, and I'm being kind. They need to show on play after play after play after play after play that they're going to run to the ball. I don't care if you are the weak side defensive end in a 7 technique and they run toss sweep away from you, 100 mile an hour. Florida State did not show that very much. Generic, I'm not saying the DN, but it was like anybody. There were way too many loafs in the Notre Dame game, etc. And in the North Carolina game, might have been worse. Debatable. That's awful. You're on scholarship. It is owed to yourself, your family, the school, everybody, the coaches, that you play hard every snap. Way too many loafs. You're going to beat Charleston Southern, but do you smack them around? Do you have pride, not only for this season, but for your football future? That's something I need to see. When we come back, I'm going to talk about a few more keys and get a final score prediction for Charleston Southern at Florida State. PrizePicks is the best place to get real money sports action. With over 10 million members and billions of dollars in award winnings, PrizePicks has made daily fantasy sports accessible to all. You just pick more or less on at least 2 players for a shot to win up to 100 times your cash. Run your game all season long on PrizePicks. You can now win up to 100 times your money on PrizePicks, and 4 correct picks, could be 6 picks, whatever. That's pretty cool. Sign up today, you get $50 off too. That's with just playing $5. Not many places you're going to get that. So don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. Think about Justin Jefferson. That's just as an example. You could think about any receiver you want. 80 yards, 90 yards, over, under. What do you think? Just pick the over, under. Lamar Jackson, 1.5 touchdowns, same deal. Finally, make sure you download the app today and use code LOCKEDONCollege to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Again, download the app today and use code LOCKEDONCollege to get $50 instantly after you play your first $1 lineup. PrizePicks, run your game. Also, this show is brought to you by FanDuel. Get ready to tackle NFL action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, because right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if you win. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL, all in one place. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. You'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the National Football League. All right, let's continue on here. This one is a bugaboo that is just mind-blowing. Number 6, could we just get a turnover? It's been since September that they had a turnover. How is that possible? We are to the point now, it's just embarrassing. They've got 3 turnovers on the season, unless I just missed one. I don't think I did. It's Charleston Southern. 2 is really what they should get minimum, honestly. If they don't, there's something terribly wrong. It's Charleston Southern. You're going to get a pass rush on them. That's the one thing Florida State consistently does. To think, based on their quarterback, like one of their quarterbacks this year has 4 touchdowns and 7 picks. Do you really think they're going to threaten you that much? At minimum, you should have 1 pick, because there's going to be a play where the ball's thrown up in the air when it shouldn't have. He should have thrown it away, or he gets hit as he's throwing. And don't forget about strip sack fumble, maybe a scoop and score. All of those things are in play. Minimum 2 turnovers in this game. Number 7, and this kind of goes both sides of the ball. Florida State has been atrocious on offense on 3rd downs. Quarterback play, it's why I talked about this at the beginning of the show, and I'm going to end with it kind of. Need to see more consistency, footwork, pocket presence, being accurate. If it's not there, throw it away or take the 5-yard run. Pocket presence is the biggest thing for me, but just understanding the moment too. It's okay to punt. It is not okay to turn it over. But still, they should be 45% or 50% against Charleston Southern at minimum on 3rd down. If they're in the 30s or whatever, again, against Charleston Southern, that would be a sign that they're going to get bludgeoned against Florida when they play, obviously, much better players. So now for my final score prediction, I think this game will be a little bit of a quagmire in some sections of the game, because I still think Florida State's quarterbacks will be up and down. Got a redshirt freshman and a true freshman. We'll see how that goes. But I expect Florida State to be up at halftime, something like 17-3. They'll pull away in the second half, be up like 24-3. And then when the game's over, maybe the last drive of the game, Charleston Southern against Florida State's backup scores a touchdown. Final score, I've got the Noles winning 34-10. We'll see how close I am to being right. I'd love to hear your prediction thoughts. Please comment on the YouTube page for Locked On Seminoles. And a reminder, by the way, after the game on Saturday, I will have a live show. I haven't put up the stream yet, but I will have a live show on Saturday. So make sure you check that out. It'll be within a half hour, give or take, of that game coming to a conclusion. And then we'll have an overview on Sunday as well. So please hit that like button, that notification bell, and subscribe if you have not already, and share this podcast. I'd love to get in front of more Florida State fans. Thank you very much. And you can find me on X at FBScout_Florida. I will see everyone again soon. Take care.